What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with Waiver Wire Week 4. Going to be telling you the waiver wire players to pick up to give you an edge versus the rest of your league. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to win your league, if you want to beat your friends and family in fantasy football, secure that championship. Also, hit that like button if you have any questions or comments, want to know who to drop, start sits, any fantasy football questions, trade advice, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. Let's hop into the waiver wire. So as far as quarterback streamers go, I'll just start talking a few of these guys right off the bat. So Jared Goff, if he's available in your league, he plays Seattle. He'd probably be my top pick this week. And then Ryan Tannehill is also a good pick this week. He plays Indy. I'd be willing to start either of those guys if you're looking for a quarterback streamer. Now let's move on to the running back position. So the top guys, in my opinion, for this week, Khalil Herbert, if he's out there on your waiver wire, he is going to be a good play. David Montgomery expected to miss some time. They had 30 points last week. He's a talented running back, and they run the ball a ton in that offense, so I would be really excited to add Khalil Herbert if I am running back needy. And let's face it, just about every team out there could use another running back to their roster the way that the running back position goes to as far as injuries and everything. I mean, this is why these guys are so relevant right now. Another guy, Alexander Madison, I would be willing to add him. I think there's a good chance that Cook misses. Maybe he just throws on his shoulder device and he plays this week. I'm not entirely positive. I don't think we'll know till later in the week. But Alexander Madison, especially if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, you should own him either way. He is the clear backup. And Dalvin Cook has dealt with shoulder injuries in the past. I think he'll probably continue to miss a few games here and there every year. So you're going to be able to plug Alexander Madison in for probably 3 games every season. So I definitely think both those guys are worth an add at the running back position. Now, let's move on to the wide receiver position. This is probably my top add on the week if I don't need a running back. Romeo Doubs. He looked fantastic the other day, and Christian Watson was out, obviously, but Sammy Watkins has been placed on IR, so he's not going to be back. He was the leading target receiver, 8 targets, 8 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. He looked good. He looked like he's got some speed. They threw him some screens. He was effective in the screen game as well. I would really like to add Romeo Doubs to my rosters, especially when you got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and not a ton of target competition around him. I think he'd be a great add for most teams. Another guy who could be back this week, Michael Gallup Dak, they said could be back as well this week. He's only owned in less than 50% of leagues. Obviously, nothing to show for him, but Michael Gallup is a great add. He's a talented wide receiver. He's coming off an ACL injury. That's the only little knock on him, but really, he is a good wide receiver, and I think he will be the 2 in this offense by the end of the year. Although I do really like Noah Brown. He's played well. Especially, let's say Dak comes back in 2 weeks from now, and then you get Dak with Michael Gallup. He likes to throw the ball to Michael Gallup quite a bit, so I'd be excited to roster him. Especially that the Cowboys are in that weak NFC East where you're going to play a lot of weak competition. Obviously, they're the Eagles, but then you're going to get those games against the Giants, against Washington. You're going to love to plug him in for all of those games. Okay, let's talk about another guy out there, Zay Jones. I think this guy's worth an add. Trevor Lawrence has looked really good recently. I think he's worth an add if you don't want to. I don't love playing him this week. I think you can. He plays Philly. That's the only reason I'm not necessarily adding Trevor. But I think he's going to be pretty solid for fantasy football this year, especially if you're in a super flex league or something like that. I think Trevor is definitely worth an add. And it's not that I think he'll be awful this week. I just think it limits his upside against a tough defensive matchup that we've seen shut down some good fantasy quarterback options so far. But if we're looking at Zay Jones, look at the week 1, 9 targets. He only had 4 in week 2, but then 11 this last week. 9.5 and then 19.5. Those are solid weeks for a receiver, and all wide receivers are going to be a little inconsistent. So I think this is a guy you might be able to jump on a little bit late, add to your rosters. I think he's a good add. We'll touch on one more receiver, a rookie wide receiver here, Treyland Brook. He's running more and more routes every single week. They're going to need him, honestly, too. And he's looked good when he's been on the field. Obviously, coming off a great week last week, but I still believe in him long term just with this roster construction as well. They're going to need guys to throw the ball to. And a good matchup this week against Indy. This could be his breakout. Treyland Brook, I think, is definitely worth an add if you've got a spot in some leagues. Okay, let's move on to the tight end position. There's actually some promising ads this week at the tight end spot. First off, David Nijoku had a monster game the other day. He's getting paid 10 targets, 9 for 89 and 1, 19.4. Just if you have a tight end that even has that in their realm of possibility, that's pretty good. So I think David Nijoku is worth an add. Another guy I'll throw out there, who has played well recently, and I just really like you should be looking for targets. Targets are what you should be following in fantasy football more than anything. Target, snap percentage of targets, so that stuff matters. But 7 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets for Conklin. Last week, 8 for 84. That's a pretty solid week from a tight end. That's really what you're looking for. And when you're getting that many opportunities, it gives you a chance to produce. He has been able to do this without even getting in the end zone yet. He did. He scored week 1. But still, I think that, when you get that type of target load, it gives you a chance to, rack up some receptions, give you a chance at the end zone. I think he's definitely worth an add. Okay, let me throw out another name here you guys should keep your eye on. Harrison Butker, since he's been injured, is probably available in a lot of leagues. I do expect him to come back this week. He's a great kicker for a great offense. I'd be really excited to add him to my roster if I don't have a stud kicker already. Basically, there'd probably only be like 4 or 5 kickers in the league that I'd probably be keeping over Harrison Butker right now. And that's, the Justin Tuckers, those elite type kickers. If you don't have one of those guys, I would probably be trying to add Harrison Butker then to my waiver wires this week. Especially if there's some, uncertainty as to whether he plays. I think he's going to play, though. And then defense, my number one defensive streamer this week would be the Packers. Reason being, they've got a good defense to begin with, and then let's look at this schedule. New England, probably without Mac Jones this week. They play them. They play the Giants. We just saw them on Monday night struggle against the Cowboys. And they play the Jets, then Washington. I think you could probably potentially play them for 4 weeks in a row. They've got a good defense. I'd be really excited about adding them to my roster right now. Help you win some fantasy games in this middle push of the season. And guys, above all else, if you are 0-3, if you're 1-2, do not give up on your season. You can get those wins. The fantasy season still has a lot to go. Crazy things happen in fantasy football. Just keep grinding, making your roster better on the back end. Make a trade here and there. You guys can get right back into it and win your fantasy football championship still, especially if you hit that subscribe button to Fantasy Joe. And if you guys have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. Please hit that like button. Helps out the algorithm as well as the comments. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, everyone, for watching.